6 months after the Guardian vessel's defeat, Earth had changed dramatically. Sentinel technology, now under partial human control, accelerated scientific advancement by decades. Renewable energy flourished as Sentinel power systems integrated with human infrastructure. Medical breakthroughs emerged from studying the biological modifications Zaleria had made to Earth plants. Yet suspicion persisted. At the newly established Interplanetary Defense Headquarters in Geneva, representatives from 14 nations debated humanity's relationship with their alien guest. "She's still controlling the most critical Sentinel functions," argued Russian Defense Minister Petrov. "We remain dependent on her cooperation." Elijah, now heading the Sentinel Integration Division, disagreed. "The neural interface candidates are gaining greater control daily. We're learning too slowly," countered Director Wilson of the American contingent. "The coalition could arrive any time in the next century. We need full access to her weapons technology." Zaleria, permitted to observe but not participate in these meetings, maintained an expression of patient amusement. The human concept of secrecy seemed particularly futile given her sensory capabilities. Later, in Elijah's office overlooking Lake Geneva, she expressed her thoughts more freely. "Your species argues while extinction approaches," she observed, silver hair flowing in spectral patterns. "The coalition will not send automated guardians next time, but living warriors capable of adaptation." Elijah rubbed his temples, chronic headaches plaguing him since the neural interface. "These nations spent centuries fighting each other. Trust doesn't come easily." "Yet it must," she replied. "The Sentinel network was designed for planetary defense, not interstellar warfare. You need offensive capabilities to survive." Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Tanaka, the only other surviving neural interface candidate. The Japanese physicist had adapted better than Elijah to the alien knowledge, perhaps because his connection had been less direct. "We've extracted usable data from the captured Guardian vessels," he reported. "Their propulsion systems could revolutionize our space program, but the weapons remain encrypted." Zaleria tilted her head. "The encryption follows coalition protocols. I can provide the decryption sequence, but your leaders must agree to certain conditions." "More conditions," Elijah sighed. "They already resent the restrictions you've placed on Sentinel technology." "Those restrictions prevent planetary self-destruction," she countered. "Your species remains impulsive despite its potential." The debate continued at the highest levels of world government while research teams worked frantically to understand the alien technology. Progress accelerated when Zaleria finally convinced the Defense Council to establish permanent neural interfaces at each major Sentinel node. 500 volunteers underwent the procedure worldwide. Unlike the emergency interfaces during the Guardian attack, these connections were calibrated for human neurophysiology, allowing safer integration. Each interface operator gained limited access to Sentinel functions and, more importantly, to the historical and scientific knowledge Zaleria had embedded within their programming. A breakthrough came unexpectedly from historical archives rather than weapons research. A young historian working with interface data discovered references to Earth's previous sentient species, particularly one that had achieved space flight before extinction. "They called themselves the Valorians," Dr. Nadia Khoury explained to the council, displaying holographic reconstructions. "Mammalian bipeds who evolved approximately 2 million years ago. They established lunar colonies before a pandemic collapsed their civilization." "Another of your experiments?" General Harrington asked Zaleria pointedly. "Not mine," she replied. "Earth was designated as an evolutionary testbed long before my ascension. The Valorians showed tremendous promise until the coalition introduced a biological agent to prevent their expansion. The revelation caused uproar." "You're saying they deliberately wiped out an intelligent species?" President Zhang demanded. "Many species," Zaleria corrected. "The coalition maintains strict control over evolutionary advancement throughout this galactic sector. Humanity survived only because my imprisonment here created a quarantine zone they were reluctant to breach." The implications shifted the political landscape. Nations that had remained suspicious of Zaleria now recognized the greater threat. Within weeks, the Defense Council authorized full cooperation with her proposed planetary defense strategy. Elijah found himself in the uncomfortable position of political liaison between humanity and their alien ally. The neural connection had left him with fragmentary understanding of her language and culture, making him uniquely qualified but perpetually disoriented. "You still don't trust me completely," Zaleria observed during a rare moment of privacy as they toured the Saharan Sentinel complex. "Should I?" he countered. "You've helped us, but your motivations remain unclear. Revenge against the Coalition seems too simple." She studied him with those unsettling violet eyes. "The Coalition fears species integration. Their evolutionary philosophy demands separation and hierarchy. Mine." She hesitated. "Mine advocates for genetic and cultural exchange. Strengthening through diversity. You want to use humanity in your ideological war." "I want humanity to survive," she corrected. "And yes, to prove my philosophy correct." "Is that so different from your scientists' testing theories?" "The scales are somewhat different," Elijah noted dryly. Their philosophical debate ended abruptly when alarms sounded throughout the facility. Long-range Sentinel sensors had detected an anomaly at the edge of the solar system, a small ship using stealth technology that resembled but did not match Coalition designs. "A scout," Zaleria determined after reviewing the data. "Not automated. This is concerning." "I thought we had decades before the Coalition investigated," Harrington said during the emergency briefing. "The Guardian vessels should have reported success or requested reinforcements," she explained. "Their silence has clearly prompted investigation sooner than anticipated." The Defense Council debated response options. Some advocated immediate attack using adapted Guardian weapons. Others suggested attempting communication. Zaleria recommended a third option. "Capture the vessel intact," she advised. "Its occupants will possess current intelligence about Coalition activities and capabilities." The mission required technology beyond human development, specifically, the gravitational manipulation systems Zaleria had been reluctant to share. After tense negotiations, she agreed to activate these systems herself, with human operators observing the process for future replication. 3 Sentinel craft, piloted by neural interface operators with Zaleria coordinating remotely, intercepted the scout vessel near Jupiter's orbit. The operation succeeded with minimal damage to the alien craft, which was transported to a secure facility beneath the Atacama Desert. The ship's occupants shocked everyone, including Zaleria. "Dissidents," she whispered, studying the surveillance feeds of the 3 humanoid aliens in containment. Their features resembled hers, though less ethereal, with skin tones ranging from pale blue to deep purple. "Members of my own species." "Impossible," Harrington declared. "Your people imprisoned you thousands of years ago." "These are not my contemporaries," she clarified. "They are descendants, likely from colony worlds that remained loyal to my philosophical faction after my imprisonment." Diplomatic contact proved challenging despite Zaleria's assistance with translation. The dissidents, led by a commander named Zenth, regarded her with religious awe, treating her as a messianic figure whose prophesied return they had dedicated their lives to facilitating. "The Eternal Empress lives," Zenth proclaimed upon seeing her. "The reconciliation approaches." More disturbing was their news. The Coalition had fractured into competing factions after millennia of enforced evolutionary stagnation. Civil war consumed multiple star systems, with Zaleria's philosophical adherents gaining unexpected influence. Earth's defensive activation had been detected, but competing priorities delayed major Coalition response. "This changes everything," Elijah realized during strategic discussions. "We're not facing a unified enemy, but potential allies and enemies among multiple factions." Zaleria's expression remained unreadable as she processed the implications. "My imprisonment was meant to end an ideological debate. Instead, it merely postponed the inevitable conflict. Trust remained tenuous between humanity and their alien visitors, but necessity forged cooperation. The dissident vessel contained star charts and tactical information that proved invaluable for defense planning. More importantly, it carried genetic samples and cultural records from dozens of species under coalition oppression, potential allies in the coming conflict. Earth's governments reluctantly authorized Zaleria to activate dormant Sentinel manufacturing capabilities, producing advanced weaponry and defensive systems at an unprecedented rate. Space programs worldwide consolidated under United Earth Defense, focusing on adapting Guardian vessel technology for human use. Elijah discovered the neural effects of his connection with Zaleria had begun manifesting in unexpected ways. His dreams contained memories not his own, glimpses of alien worlds and ancient conflicts. More disturbing were the physiological changes, enhanced cellular regeneration, improved neural processing, and subtle alterations to his sensory perception. "You're changing me," he confronted her in the secure compound that had become her permanent residence. "Physically changing me." Her expression showed genuine remorse. "The connection initiated processes I cannot fully control. Your neural architecture is adapting to accommodate the information transfer." "Is this happening to all the interface operators?" "To varying degrees. Your connection was deepest, your transformation most profound." She approached, placing a cool hand against his cheek. "You are becoming something unprecedented, neither fully human nor my kind, but something new." The revelation should have horrified him. Instead, Elijah felt a strange acceptance, as if part of him had anticipated this outcome from their first meeting. "Is this what you wanted all along? To create hybrids?" Not consciously, she answered with surprising vulnerability. "But perhaps it represents the ultimate expression of my philosophy, not merely cooperation between species, but integration. Evolution through unity rather than competition." Their moment of connection was interrupted by a priority alert. Sentinel sensors had detected a massive spatial distortion forming beyond Mars' orbit, a wormhole signature matching coalition technology but vastly larger than any previously documented. "They're coming," Zaleria whispered, violet eyes wide with something Elijah had never witnessed in her before, fear. "Not a punitive expedition. An armada." Across Earth, Sentinel towers activated simultaneously, drawing power at unprecedented levels. Neural interface operators worldwide reported the same vision, hundreds of vessels emerging from folded space, bearing the insignia of multiple coalition factions. Some came to destroy. Some to preserve. Some to witness the return of the Empress whose imprisonment had shaped their civilization for millennia. All converged on the small blue planet that had, by cosmic accident, become the fulcrum upon which galactic politics would turn. Humanity's unlikely alliance with Zaleria would face its ultimate test. And Elijah, caught between worlds both literally and figuratively, wondered whether either humanity or the alien Empress would emerge unchanged from the coming confrontation. As Sentinel defense systems reached full power, illuminating Earth's atmosphere with ethereal light, Elijah made his decision. Whatever Zaleria's original intentions, whatever transformations occurred within him, humanity's survival remained his priority. If that required becoming something more, or less, than human, he would accept the cost. The battle for Earth's future would begin at dawn. The Coalition Armada emerged fully from the spatial rift, 300 vessels arranged in precise formation. Earth's defense councils watched in stunned silence as the alien fleet split into 3 distinct groups, their hull markings indicating different factions. "The center formation bears the Nexus Imperative insignia," Zaleria explained, studying the tactical display. "Hardliners who believe in strict evolutionary control. The Eastern contingent follows the Concord of Spheres, moderates who might negotiate. The Western group." Her voice faltered. "What?" pressed General Harrington. "They bear my house sigil. Loyalists who have awaited my return for millennia." Elijah felt the implications through the neural link that now permanently connected him to Zaliria's consciousness. They expect you to lead them. Before negotiations could begin, the Nexus Imperative launched the first strike, not against Earth, but against the Loyalist fleet. The battle erupted in silence against the black of space, energy weapons painting light streaks visible from Earth's surface. They fear my faction gaining your technology, Zaliria realized. We must act now. Earth's Sentinel defense grid activated fully, creating an energy shield around the planet. 14 prototype vessels, human-piloted ships incorporating Guardian technology, launched from hidden bases to support the Loyalist forces. Elijah, monitoring operations from Sentinel Command, felt the strange doubling of perception that had become familiar since his transformation began. He existed simultaneously in the command center and through the Sentinel network, experiencing the battle from multiple perspectives. The Concorde vessels are holding position, reported Admiral Yoshida. They're transmitting on all frequencies. The message, translated through Sentinel systems, was simple, a request for parley. After hasty consultation, Earth's Defense Council agreed to a delegation, with conditions. I will represent humanity, Elijah volunteered, knowing his unique physiology made him best suited to survive potential biological incompatibilities. Not alone, Zaliria insisted. My presence would escalate tensions. Then who? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Nadia Khoury, the historian who had discovered the Valerian records, stepped forward. The Concorde requested archaeological and historical experts. My team has studied alien civilizations extensively through Sentinel records. The meeting occurred on a neutral platform, a massive Sentinel satellite hastily positioned in high orbit. The Concorde delegation arrived in an unarmed shuttle while battle continued between hardliners and loyalists at the system's edge. The alien representatives mirrored Zaliria's physiology but with marked differences, evolutionary divergence after millennia of separation. Their leader, Premier the Lax, addressed the humans with cautious formality. Your world presents a paradox, he began. A prohibited evolutionary experiment harboring our civilization's most controversial empress. We weren't aware we needed permission to evolve, Dr. Khoury replied with diplomatic sharpness. Thalax's multi-toned voice expressed something like amusement. Indeed. That philosophical question has divided our coalition for thousands of cycles. Zaliria's faction argued for non-interference. The Nexus Imperative argued for controlled development. Our Concorde seeks middle ground. While you debated philosophy, we developed independently, Elijah pointed out. We've activated technology your coalition buried here and adapted it for our defense. So we observe, the Lax acknowledged. This creates a unique opportunity, or crisis, depending on perspective. Your species has demonstrated resilience and adaptability beyond projected models. Some believe this validates Zaliria's original thesis. Political maneuvering ensued, with the Concorde offering a compromise. Earth would receive protected status and limited technological exchange if they surrendered Zaliria to Concorde custody, not for execution, but diplomatic reintegration into coalition governance. And if we refuse? Asked Admiral Yoshida. Then the Nexus Imperative's approach will likely prevail once they defeat the Loyalist forces. They advocate sterilization of evolutionary anomalies. The human delegation requested time for consultation, returning to Earth with the proposal. The Defense Council debated frantically while Sentinel systems tracked the ongoing space battle. The Loyalists were losing ground despite Earth's prototype fleet support. Zaliria received the news with characteristic composure. The Concorde's offer is logical from their perspective. My presence destabilizes coalition politics. It's unacceptable, Elijah argued. You've helped defend Earth. We don't abandon allies. Her violet eyes studied him with ancient patience. My continued presence guarantees conflict. The Concorde offers humanity survival. At the cost of your freedom. Again. Freedom is relative, Elijah. I have experienced more freedom in these months on Earth than in millennia of rulership before my imprisonment. Their philosophical debate became irrelevant when Sentinel early warning systems detected massive energy buildups within the Nexus fleet. The hardliners had broken through Loyalist defenses and were positioning planet-killer weapons. "They're not waiting for diplomacy," General Harrington announced grimly. "All defense systems to maximum power. Evacuate population centers near Sentinel installations." Earth's atmosphere rippled with energy as the Sentinel network directed all available power to orbital shields. The 14 prototype vessels took defensive positions, knowing they faced overwhelming odds. In Sentinel Command, Zaleria made her decision. "There is another option," she told the Defense Council. "One I had hoped to avoid." "What option?" demanded President Zhang. "Awakening Earth itself." Her expression became distant, accessing knowledge so ancient it predated human civilization. "This planet was not chosen randomly for my imprisonment. It contains systems far older than the Sentinels, created by my ancestors during the first expansion." Skepticism filled the room until Zaleria activated a holographic display showing vast mechanical structures beneath Earth's crust, dormant technology on a scale that dwarfed even the Sentinel network. "My people didn't terraform worlds," she explained. "We transformed them into living computational systems, planets with consciousness." Earth's transformation was interrupted by the Coalition rebellion, but the Foundation architecture remains intact. "You're saying Earth is alive?" Dr. Curry asked incredulously. "Potentially. The systems require activation by compatible neural patterns. In the past, only my species could interface with planetary consciousness. Now." Her gaze turned to Elijah. "Your transformation has created the necessary compatibility." Understanding dawned. "You need me to awaken the planet." "Us," she corrected. "Together. The process requires both human and my species' neural patterns in synchronized interface." The implications stunned everyone present. Creating planetary consciousness meant fundamentally altering Earth itself, with unpredictable consequences for all life forms. Yet facing imminent destruction from Nexus forces, options were limited. "How long do we have?" Harrington asked, military pragmatism overriding philosophical concerns. "The shields will fail within 40 minutes at current attack levels," reported Admiral Yoshida. "Nexus forces have disabled 30% of our orbital defenses." Decision made, Elijah and Zaleria were transported to the primary Sentinel node beneath the Himalayan mountains, returning to where their journey together had begun. The ancient chamber had transformed, revealing deeper chambers and crystalline interfaces far older than the Sentinel technology. "The awakening requires complete neural synchronization," Zaleria explained as technicians prepared them for the procedure. "Our consciousness will temporarily merge with the planetary systems." "Will we survive?" Elijah asked. Her expression softened. "As we currently exist? Uncertain. But something of us will continue within the greater consciousness." Around the world, the remaining neural interface operators prepared to channel the awakening energy through the Sentinel network. Earth's military forces engaged Nexus landing parties attempting to disable ground-based defenses. The Loyalist fleet, though decimated, continued fighting alongside Earth's prototype vessels, buying precious time. Within the ancient chamber, Elijah and Zaleria positioned themselves within a crystalline matrix that predated human civilization by millions of years. Their hands joined, completing neural circuits evolved across different solar systems but somehow compatible. "I need to tell you something," Elijah said as the interface activated around them. "In case we don't survive this. I've seen enough of your memories to understand, you never intended conquest. You chose imprisonment rather than lead your people to war. And I have seen enough of humanity to know my choice was correct," she replied. "Your species, despite its flaws, deserves the chance to determine its own evolution." Energy surged through the ancient systems, carrying their merged consciousness deep into Earth's core. They experienced the planet's history simultaneously: continental formation, the emergence of life, mass extinctions, and the slow development of intelligence across multiple species. They witnessed the arrival of Zaliria's ancestors, the partial transformation of Earth into living technology, and the subsequent abandonment during the Coalition Wars. Most importantly, they experienced the planet's potential, not as territory to be claimed, but as a living entity awakening to self-awareness after billions of years of evolution. The Sentinel network worldwide pulsed with unprecedented energy as the planetary consciousness expanded through systems long dormant. Earth itself seemed to shudder as technologies buried beneath oceans, mountains, and deserts activated simultaneously. In orbit, the Nexus fleet faltered as targeted gravitational fluctuations disrupted their formation. Energy surges disabled weapons systems. Communication networks fragmented as Earth's awakening consciousness established dominance within its orbital space. The Concorde vessels, witnessing the transformation, withdrew to safe distance. Their sensors recorded the emergence of technological capabilities beyond current coalition understanding, the fulfillment of evolution their philosophies had debated for millennia. Within the interface chamber, Elijah and Zaliria's physical forms remained motionless while their consciousness expanded throughout the planetary network. They experienced existence at scales simultaneously microscopic and global. Through awakened sensors, they perceived the Coalition fleet, the spatial rift that had delivered them, and the vast galactic community beyond. When their voices finally spoke through Sentinel communication systems, they addressed all factions simultaneously: Coalition hardliners, moderates, loyalists, and Earth's defenders. Earth has awakened, they announced in perfect harmony, their merged voice resonating with authority that transcended species. This world is now a conscious entity entitled to self-determination under the original compact of worlds that predates your coalition. The stunned silence extended across communication channels as the implications registered. Earth had bypassed centuries of expected development to emerge as a living computational entity, precisely the evolutionary path the Nexus imperative had been created to prevent. This transformation violates Coalition directives, responded the Nexus commander. The Coalition's authority is not recognized by predecessors, replied the Elijah Zaliria consciousness. Earth invokes the ancient compact, predating Coalition formation. As a conscious world, it claims sovereignty and offers diplomatic recognition to all factions who acknowledge its status. The Loyalist forces immediately proclaimed recognition. The Concorde followed after brief deliberation. The Nexus imperative, faced with technology beyond their capabilities and the unified opposition of other factions, reluctantly ceased hostilities pending consultation with their governing council. Within hours, the Coalition armada withdrew through the spatial rift, leaving diplomatic delegations to establish formal relations with the newly awakened Earth. The battle ended not with humanity's destruction or salvation by alien intervention, but through transformation into something entirely new. 3 days later, when the planetary consciousness had stabilized, Elijah and Zaliria's merged awareness separated partially from the greater entity. Their physical forms, sustained by the interface chamber, showed subtle but significant changes, both more human and less, both more alien and less. They awoke simultaneously, violet eyes opening to the transformed chamber where crystalline growths now interfaced directly with human technology. They remembered existence as individuals while retaining awareness of the planetary consciousness they had helped create. "We succeeded," Elijah observed, his voice carrying harmonic undertones similar to Zaliria's species. "Beyond expectations," she agreed, her features softened toward human norms while retaining alien grace. "Earth has joined the galactic community not as a client world or conquered territory, but as a sovereign entity." Outside the chamber, humanity struggled to understand its new reality. Most experienced the planetary awakening as enhanced connection to their environment. Some, particularly those near Sentinel installations, developed limited telepathic abilities. The neural interface operators worldwide became living conduits between human consciousness and planetary awareness, translators helping society adapt to evolutionary leap centuries ahead of projected development. The coalition crisis eventually resolved through compromise. The Nexus imperative fractured, with moderate factions joining the concord. Xeleria's loyalists established permanent embassy on Earth, facilitating cultural and technological exchange. Earth itself, newly conscious, expressed its awakening through unprecedented ecological balance, weather patterns stabilized, damaged ecosystems regenerated, and compatible technologies integrated seamlessly into natural systems. The planetary entity respected human autonomy while gently guiding development toward sustainable patterns. 1 year after the awakening, Elijah and Xeleria stood atop the Himalayan facility, watching aurora displays created by Sentinel energy interacting with Earth's enhanced magnetosphere. Their transformation had continued, creating beings that embodied both species' characteristics, neither fully human nor alien, but something new. Was this your plan from the beginning? Elijah asked, their neural connection allowing perfect understanding despite the complexity of the question. Xeleria considered, her silver hair flowing in patterns that reflected her thoughts. Not consciously. But perhaps some part of me hoped for this outcome when I chose Earth for sanctuary millennia ago. My species believed planetary consciousness represented evolution's highest expression, not conquest of worlds, but partnership with them. And now? Now we face the greater challenge, she replied. Helping humanity navigate its new reality while maintaining its essential nature. Evolution without loss of identity. Beyond Earth, the galactic community watched with fascination and concern as the unexpected hybrid civilization developed. Diplomatic delegations arrived regularly through the spatial gateway now permanently established in orbit. Earth's transformation had destabilized coalition politics, creating opportunities for other developing worlds to claim greater autonomy. The ancient conflict between evolutionary philosophies remained unresolved, but Earth's awakening had changed the terms of debate. Neither strict control nor complete non-interference had prevailed. Instead, guided transformation through cooperation between species offered a third path, precisely as Xeleria had advocated before her imprisonment. As evening fell over the Himalayas, Elijah sensed Earth's consciousness rising with the night, its awareness expanding as human activity diminished. The planet had developed distinctive personality, curious, protective, occasionally mischievous as it explored its capabilities. We should tell them about the other worlds, he suggested, thinking of the dormant systems Xeleria's ancestors had established throughout the solar system. Mars and Venus contain similar potential. Soon, she agreed. Earth must stabilize first. Then the solar consciousness can begin awakening. They stood together at the threshold of possibilities neither species had imagined independently. The Empress who had been imprisoned for her beliefs and the archaeologist who had accidentally freed her now served as guardians for a planetary intelligence taking its first steps into cosmic awareness. Above them, stars gleamed with new significance, not distant lights, but potential connections in a network of conscious worlds extending beyond current understanding. Earth had emerged from isolation into community, transformed by unlikely alliance into something greater than its component parts. The awakening had just begun.